Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, Fountain Pen Focus Day, and we're going to focus on this. This is the Moon Man, or the Majohn S5. An eyedropper pen. Quite an unusual pen, isn't it? Look at the shape of that. I like this, the way it looks. It reminds me, I've got to be honest, a bit of a fish. The way we've got, up here we've got the front of the fish, we've got the mouth, then it goes out to the body, then coming back in, then slightly out for the tail. Quite an unusual shape, quite different. Let's take a walk through the body. So the top of the pen, that's flat. Will it stand? Not really. Yep, but you can with a little bit of effort get it to balance. It's all transparent acrylic. So then we come out quite sharply until we get to this first line. That's the end of this solid acrylic. Then we're coming into the cap. We're still coming out sharply. We get another line going all the way around, and from there it seems to be one single width all the way down, going past the threads till we get to this gold coloured ring. The ring, we've got the word Moon Man. At the back, we've got this little jewel. That's the roll stop. And then we come all the way back around to the front again. Now, this roll stop, I'm just going to let it roll naturally. Not too bad, but not perfect. So again, I'm just going to do another quick one. I'm going to pull it down. The roll stop, a couple of rolls before it will actually stop it. Not sure what I think about this. It's nice, it's different. It's not really in your face. I would have preferred a clip there. From the bottom of the cap, there feels like the teeniest, tiniest, I'm talking about millimetre gap, until we get down to the body. The body, again, we've got the same width for about the first third. Then we start tapering in. About, is that 2/3 of the way down the body? That's where the end of the ink chamber is. Then we've got solid acrylic all the way down till we come out at the end. And again, that's flat. Can I get it to stand? Yep, that stands quite nicely. Let's take off the cap. Hard to tell because we've got nothing on there. I'm going to put my finger here and we go half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, about 2 3/4 turns to take that cap off. And then that reveals this, what I can only describe as one of the ugliest sections I've seen. Really lets this pen down. It just looks like someone's vomited up colour. I just don't know how best to describe it. It is, in my opinion, absolutely horrific. And have you got the impression I don't like it? I love the shape of the section. It's these, well, I don't know what even to call them. It's just horrible. So we'll go past the section and we'll take a look at the nib. The nib is very fine. It's also quite small. I'm thinking number 5 size. Gold coloured, yep, quite like that. I would have liked to have seen maybe a bit of two-tone on there, but it's a very personal choice. Below the breather hole, we've got a circle and there's a bit of a logo in there. That's all there is on this nib. There's nothing saying what the size is. There's nothing saying Moon Man or Majohn, which is quite unusual. Normally they're really good for labelling the nibs. But yeah, the nib goes into the section. Let's ignore the section. I'll show you me holding it. There we go. Section does feel a little bit on the thin side, but when I compare it to a lot of my other pens that have got this number 5 size nib, it's actually not too thin. It's about the same size. I like the shape. The shape is very comfortable. Reminds me a little bit of the Leonardo Memento Zero shape. Really nice. My fingers just sit there really nicely. I hold my pens down towards the bottom of the section, and this is just perfect for me. If we unscrew the section, I'm not going to do that. we can then get in and we eyedropper fill the pen. I love the transparent nature of the pen. I love seeing this ink sloshing around. So that's a walk through the body. Let's swap over the view and we'll do some size comparisons. So the first two pens, my standard size comparisons, Pilot Metropolitan, Lamy Safari. You know, very similar in size, isn't it? Let's pop the caps off and take a look at them unposted. Unposted, slightly different story. The Lamy Safari now edging ahead in terms of length. Still seeing roughly, maybe a couple of millimeters difference there between the Metropolitan and the S5. Let's take a look at these posted. Posted, we've got yet another different story. The S5 does post, but it doesn't make it that much longer. It looks the baby now, doesn't it? Let's swap over and we'll fetch in some pens in roughly the same price range. The pens I've brought in, I've got a Wingsun 699, that was 35 Australian dollars. The Majohn or the Moonman S5, 37 Australian dollars. And then I've got a Fully Wen 017, that was 38 Australian dollars. The Fully Wen, yes, I can pop the cap on, but doesn't really post very well. So I'm not showing this one posted. Let's take a look at these unposted. Here's the pens unposted. The Wingsun, definitely the longest of the bunch. The Fully Wen and the S5, actually very similar in size. The nibs is where we've got a difference. So the nib on the Wingsun and the Fully Wen, they're number 6 size nibs. The nib here on this S5, I say number 5 size nib. If I line the bottom of the sections up, rather than the top of the nibs, they actually look about the same length in terms of the body. Let's pop the caps on these. With the caps on, very similar story. The 699 the longest, the Fully Wen 017 in the middle, and then the S5, the shorter of the 3 pens. Let's get this out of the way and fetch in the rule of measuring. Here's the rule of measuring. With the cap on, we're talking about 13.6 centimetres. Uncapped, that's about 12.5 centimetres. Posted, comes in at 14 centimetres. The width of the body at its widest point is 1.49 centimetres. The cap at its widest is 1.57 centimetres. The section goes from 0.99 at its narrowest up to 1.25 centimetres. So a small and a narrow pen. Let's move this out of the way and we'll fetch in the scales of weighing. Here's the scales of weighing. So the pen itself, the complete pen, 17 grams, very light, and that's with ink in it. The pen body, 14 grams. The cap, 4 grams. It is a light pen and you can tell that when you're using it. Let's move this out of the way and fetch in the notepad of testing. Here's the notepad of testing. I use paper, 100 GSM paper. It's a very nice fountain pen friendly paper. Let's do some writing. So we've got here, I'm going to call it the Majohn because that's what they're called today. So Majohn S5. Now, I think this is a broad nib. In my notes, I've written down medium. There's nothing on the nib, and I'm showing I ordered this. I ordered a broad. When I got this, as I said, it cost me 37 Australian dollars. Quite likely to have gone up in price by now. The ink, it's by Diamine. And it's called Yuletide. I love the colour of this ink. It's a nice ink. Goes well to mask the horrible nature there of that horrible looking section. Do you think I don't like the section yet? Let's look at drying times. Immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds, that's nice and dry. I'm going to move the mic down to the page so you can hear the pen write. Now, I'm not sure if that came over on the mic, but you can hear the tines on the nib. They're like, best way to describe it is they're like cracking. And what it looks like it's happening is the tines are very thin. And they're somehow, when I'm writing, they're essentially catching on each other. Now, I've tried shimming it. That's made it a little bit better. But no matter what I do, I just cannot get away from that. Doesn't detract from the writing. It's there. It's an annoyance. You don't feel it. When you feel it, you can feel the nice feedback on it. It's actually quite an enjoyable pen to use. Just got to be aware of that. I apologise if you heard some background noise there. The neighbour, I don't know what it is. There's something about him. Every time I sit down and start recording, he has to come out and mow his lawn. He only mowed it 2 days ago when I did my last recording session, but he's mowing it again today. I think there's a word for people like that, but I want to keep this video nice and clean. Okay, let's look at line variation. So that's no pressure. That's with some pressure. Yeah, definitely a wider line. And then no pressure, with pressure, no pressure, with pressure. So we're seeing a definite difference there. So there is a little bit of line variation. And I think that's down to the sponginess I'm getting from what's happening with the tines. Flow test. That keeps it really nice. So what are my thoughts and scores on this pen? We'll start with pen looks. I don't know, this is a hard one. The shape I think is interesting. I like it. It's unusual. I like the transparent nature of it. Can you guess the bit that lets it down? It's this ugly section. I just cannot believe they put this on what is otherwise quite a nice looking pen. Give me a transparent section, please. I'd love to see that in transparent. Because of that ugly section, I've got to impact my thoughts and the score on pen looks. Pen looks, I'm being really generous here. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. Build quality. Again, the actual body part, the cap part, isn't too bad. I'd like to have seen this little diamond thing here a bit bigger, the roll stop a bit bigger. It is functional, just not very good. The nib lets it down. I don't like the thinness of the nib. I don't like the way it feels like the tines are crossing each other all the time. But saying that, doesn't impact the writing. Build quality. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Writing experience. You know, yes, we can see here, it's very nice. It puts a really nice line down. Problem is, again, I've already mentioned it a couple of times, it's the nib. It's clicking as you're writing. And I would feel a bit awkward sitting in a meeting and having that clicking away and having people looking at me and thinking, what's he doing? But it doesn't detract from the fact it gives me a nice line. It fits nice in my hand. You know, I think that's part of the reason for the shape. But to me, it is so nice to use. You know, the way where it comes in here is sitting there in a knot between my finger and thumb. The section is nice. Posted, you know, doesn't add much in the way of length, doesn't add much in the way of weight. Quite nice. So for writing experience, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Ink flow, you know, we've seen here no issues. The ink dries fairly quickly. No issues with my writing. No issues with it running out of ink. All in all, just a pleasant pen to use. Ink flow, 8 out of 10. Comfort, I've already called this out. It sits so nicely in my hand. It's shaped well to the hand. I like the fact there's no edge on the bottom here that can dig into my fingers when I'm writing. My finger and thumb sit nicely due to the shape of the section. All in all, nice, comfortable pen. I can use this pen for really long note-taking sessions. I mean, I've used it where I've taken notes for about an hour. Had no issues with it. 8 out of 10. Value for money, 37 Aussie dollars. Actually not bad for what you're getting. Would I buy another one though? To be honest, I wouldn't. I think the pen looks nice, apart from but ugly section. I think the pen writes nice. I think it feels nice, but it's not exciting. For 37 Aussie dollars, I think there's some more interesting pens that I can get. As I showed you with my two comparison pens, we've got the Fully Wen 017. Look how pretty that is. We've got the classic Wingsung 699. Again, both these pens write really well. So in terms of value for money, in terms of would I get another one, 8 out of 10. That means that the total score for the Majohn S5 with Diamine Yuletide is 7.83 out of 10. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I apologise if there was any external noise from the neighbour. What are your thoughts on the Majohn S5, on the Moonman S5? Have you got one? What do you think about the section? Is it just me who doesn't like it? Or are there others that also feel it's so ugly? What are your thoughts on this little roll stop? Is it something that annoys you? Is it something that you think, well, no, it's fine, it's functional? Please drop your comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.